Ryan Adams is unstoppable. In 2022 alone, he's already released 3 studio albums, 2 of them double albums. Now he's back with album number 4. My review of Devolver is coming up next on Track by Track. Hey everybody, my name's Kyle, and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. Thanks for tuning in today, and if this is your first time here, please take a second to click subscribe so you won't miss future reviews and more. Well, let's see, it's been 1 month since Ryan Adams last released an album, so I guess he's due for new music at this point. And here it is, Revolver. No, hang on, that's not it. I think we've all got that one on the brain lately, Ryan Adams included. And here it is. Devolver is Adams' 4th studio album so far this year, and yet another surprise release with little to no advance warning. Of course, we were actually still expecting another studio album from Ryan Adams later this year, which he announced as having the title 1985 and featuring the single What a Waste, which he shared back in July. I don't know if Devolver is a retitled 1985 or if we can still expect that album to drop before the year is out. I will say that What a Waste has a pretty similar feel to this latest new album, and yet it does not appear on the track list, so who knows? Now, I know I've been a bit critical of Adams' hyperactivity, shall we say, his seemingly uncontrollable impulse to release absolutely every musical idea that pops into his head, and maybe Devolver is yet another case of this, but it's a free download, so it's hard to complain about that. He follows in the footsteps of a couple of my other favorite acts who have surprise released free albums in the past. I'm referring to Radiohead's In Rainbows in 2007 and Nine Inch Nails' The Slip in 2008. Well, technically the Radiohead album was Pay What You Want, which ended up meaning free for most people. Anyway, it's a generous move for Ryan Adams, and I respect him for that. Adams says he released the album as a way to say thanks to his fans for supporting him after a year of sobriety. And you know, good for you, Ryan. Musically speaking, Devolver finds Adams leaning heavily into a garage rock vibe, with rock being the operative word. This is Ryan Adams' most energized set of songs since 1984. No, not the year. I'm talking about the Paxam singles collection he released in 2014 with that epic 80s year as its title. Not to be confused with the possibly still upcoming 1985 or the previously released Taylor Swift cover album 1989. But I digress. Devolver is 30 minutes of raw rock and roll. It's a fierce and blistering listen from start to finish, as well as his most cohesive set of songs to be released in a long, long time. Adams sets out on a specific path with the opening track and never deviates from that trajectory through the rest of the song cycle. It's the perfect approach for this kind of music, and it serves these songs well. I also think this is an album that truly works best as an album, where the whole truly is greater than the sum of its parts. There are some standout tracks for sure, but in most cases these are songs that feel less powerful on their own than they do within the full song cycle. Favorite moments for me include Marquee, a rocker that seems to blend the Rolling Stones with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Then on Eyes on the Door, I love the way the light synth notes perfectly punctuate the stabbing guitars. And on Stare at the TV, Adams does a sort of weakening trail off with his vocals on the last few lines that really sells the whole thing. And the entire affair is perfectly bookended with Don't Give It Away, a song that would have fit perfectly on his excellent 2017 album Prisoner, and then the provocatively titled closing track, Why Do You Hate Me?, that channels self-depreciation almost as exquisitely as a Morrissey song. In any case, Devolver is best consumed in its entirety, played from start to finish and as loudly as possible. If your speakers start to crackle, it'll only add to the experience. None of these songs are breaking new ground musically for Adams, and if anything, it's a continuation of his obsession with early 80s rock, as well as acts like the Smiths and the aforementioned Tom Petty. But it feels perhaps more focused here than on some of his other nostalgia-tinged albums. To that end, I think it's a much more successful effort than the previous release, FM, just 1 month earlier. Devolver is an album that took me by surprise in a lot of ways. Obviously, the out-of-nowhere album drop was unexpected, or maybe completely expected given his recent history. And the whole thing being a free download is also something I would not have anticipated. It's a digital-only release right now, but I'd happily pay money for this in a physical format. Not holding my breath on that since we're still waiting for Chris, Romeo and Juliet, and FM as well. But the biggest surprise to me was how much outright fun this thing is. No doubt the songwriting was stronger on a lot of the tracks on Adam's 2 double albums this year, but pound for pound, I'm enjoying this new set more than anything he's done in at least 5 years. He's on a solo acoustic tour right now, which would be great to see, of course, but man, these new tracks would really tear it up with a full band. I hope we get to see that happen. So I'm giving Devolver by Ryan Adams an X rating of 8 out of 10. It is hands down some of the most engaging rock and roll music Adams has released in a long time. Once again, my name's Kyle, and this has been Track by Track. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, plus check out some of these other videos below that I think you might also enjoy. And of course, be sure to subscribe, because true music fans always want new releases the day they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.